There's a story in the Bible where Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus and said, Lord, the one that you love is sick. And they were talking about a man named Lazarus, right? But the thing about Lazarus was Lazarus just wasn't sick, but the man was on his deathbed. Like, he was a goner. But Jesus, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, instead of rushing over there like people thought that he probably should be doing, the Bible says that he stayed exactly where he was for 2 more days. Now fast forward a little bit of time, not only does he find out that Lazarus has already been buried for 4 days, but when Martha sees Jesus, she tells him that if you would have been here sooner, this would have never happened. But right after that, Jesus then asked her the question, do you believe that I am the resurrection and the life? And Martha answered him and said, yes, I do. So they led Jesus to where they buried Lazarus, and instead of grieving and mourning his loss, Jesus told them to remove the stone from his grave. And again, they tried to remind him, bro, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days now, and not only that, but there's gonna be a terrible odor when we open this grave. But then Jesus responded to everyone out there, telling them that they were about to get ready to see the glory of God. And so they were obedient and they rolled the stone away. And then Jesus looked up to the sky and prayed, Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me and listen to me every time that I pray. But I have said this for the people standing around me, so that they all may be able to see your glory. And then Jesus spoke the words, Lazarus, come out. And then Lazarus, the exact same one who was dead, walked out of the tomb alive. One thing I learned about God is that God's not all the time going to come into your situation before something dies. But sometimes God is going to come into your situation when that situation is already dead, when that situation is already helpless, when you run out of ideas, when you have no plan B and you have no other alternative. Sometimes God is going to put you in a situation where it is only going to take God to bring that thing back to life. So I don't care what it looks like. Don't get discouraged if something that you love dies in your life. Whether it be a dream, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be family issues. Because if God says that that thing is not over, then it ain't over. Even if that situation has been dead for so long to the point where it even starts to have an odor, if God is asking for it, then give it to him. I didn't mention this part either, but before Jesus brought Lazarus back to life, the Bible says that Jesus wept. And Jesus was crying because he saw that Mary and everybody else was crying. And what's so beautiful about that is Jesus knew how the outcome was going to be. He knew he was going to restore that dead thing back to Mary. He knew that the victory had already been won, but it still moved him and it still hurt him when he saw that Mary was hurt. And it's the exact same thing with us. When we cry and when we feel bad, Jesus is crying and he's feeling bad with us. So sometimes it's not the fact that things just aren't meant to be or that God is trying to punish you or anything, but sometimes God just wants to show you that all you need is him. Sometimes God just wants to remind you that if you can remember who he is, and that if you have enough faith and you have enough courage to go back and roll that stone away and reveal to God that dead thing, that exact same thing that you and nobody else could save, then God not only will show you why he is called the King of Glory, but God will show you that through it all, as long as you still have the faith, God is always going to make every little thing to be okay.